And I think the first thing that I want to ask you is to give us some feedback on your entrepreneurial journey.
Oh yeah. That's that was a lot. That's a good story. When I was about 20 years old, I was going to actually 19. I was going to St. Catherine's Business College, and I knew I wanted to buy real estate. That was my main goal, is to buy real estate. I wasn't a realtor at all, but I was, watching courses on the TV, like, how you see Grant Cardone about buying real estate. Back then they had other courses and they were kind of cheesy what they were.
Mhm.
And people that are probably, over, 45, 50 years old, they probably would remember the Tom Vu and Ed Buckley and Raymond Aaron courses that would come on TV. You'd go to Toronto, you spend a week in there, and they teach you how to buy real estate for zero down payment. And I did that. I actually did. But while I was at St. Catherine's Business College, I did get an offer to work at General Motors in St. Catherine's, and I took it. I took it with knowing that I was going to quit that job, because I knew having a job at GM was going to give me credit to buy real estate, and that was the main goal for me. So I sacrificed, getting looking to be in business, or quit the college to work in a factory, which wasn't something I was keen on, but I was willing to take the sacrifice for a time period to help me build my wealth. And I did that. So when I got hired, I was hired. I went to GM. And then when I was in there, I said, when I started, I said, I'll give it 10 years and I'm out. When I was there, when I started in the first year, I says, I'm out in 5 years. Over the course of the next 2.5 years, I actually ended up leaving 3 years and probably 2 months. I was only there for 3 years and 2 months. So I manifested to leave the place. So during my 20s, that was in my 20s, but during my 20s, I had several different jobs in between all my startup businesses that I did. I had the landscape business called Just Lawns. I did import export business. I worked for car dealership Acura. I did corporate sales for Bell Mobility. I worked for Air Liquide Canada, corporate sales. I was just, and those jobs were there because every time I would start up a business, you dip money in and all that kind of stuff. But during the time I was at GM, I did buy a lot of real estate. I bought 15 homes. And I was becoming a very, very I want to say wealthy for a 21-year-old guy, 20-year-old, 21, 22-year-old
Mhm.
guy. I was becoming wealthy. So I ended up selling all my real estate just before there was a crash, just like we had in 2022. Very similar. Things were great in the first quarter of 2022. After that, things just dropped. I was that guy that sold just at the peak. I was the lucky ones. But all that money I made, I had my personal residence paid for, I had my house paid for, cars paid for, lots of money in the bank. I was doing really well. So anyway, that's why I left GM. And then throughout the years, all these other businesses that I did, I put a lot of money into this one beauty supply business that I I lost literally all the money that I had. I kept remortgaging my house over and over. So basically, my wealth that I built, it was dwindling away with my own money. No bank money, nothing. It was my personal money, my hard work and money. So it was very, very tough times that I was going through. It was a major recession that was happening, and that recession kind of lasted a long time. So and that's how I started up all these different businesses, and the beauty supply business, import export, landscape business. There's so many different things. I had a business journal that I was sending out. It was called Hamilton Burlington Business to Business Journal. All the businesses would get it, and it was like I literally came up with a business tabloid. I had my own direct mail piece called Money Savers, and that was actually one was called Money Savers, the other one's called Savings Plus. Because I needed to get into something that didn't need inventory, because the beauty supply business needed inventory, and I needed something that didn't but I had to deal with accounts receivables, and that was the tough part. So over the course of a 10-year period of my 20s of having all these different businesses. Some succeeded and some failed, and a lot of them failed. um, I learned that I needed something that I didn't have to have inventory. I didn't have to have accounts receivables. And if you worked hard, you made it. And so everybody else during my 20s would tell me, get into real estate, get into real estate, but be a realtor, be a realtor. So I did it. I did it based out of I needed to make a living. I needed to make money. I've lost so much money in my 20s, and I made a lot in a short period, but I lost it all. And so I needed to do something. So I became a realtor, and that worked for me. And I took, and as soon as I started, I took it was a Mike Ferry program. He's like Tom Ferry's father. He had
I took
uh,
that course for 10 years, and their coaching, it changed my life.
yes, I learned scripts and everything else like that. And so when I became a realtor, there was a guy in our office, and I started with Home Life Realty in Stony Creek. And there was a guy in the office there. He was, on the phones, and everybody in the office was into this Mike Ferry thing. So I went and I just took off with it. So the top agent in that office was not the top agent at when I came and started. Within a year, I surpassed his numbers, and he did not like it. It was a pretty, everybody else all the other realtors loved it. They loved it because I was the new, fresh, guy out of nowhere, just came in and started. So during that time, so I surpassed his numbers, and it was funny. It was funny back then. They had a board, and with lines on it, and you'd put your deals on. So I wouldn't put my deals on till probably the third week of the month, right? Because he wouldn't know my numbers, right? And then all of a sudden, bang, 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 and he's like, "What the hell?" He got psyched out about it. He got psyched out. He was watching me too much after, which was a big mistake on his part. He shouldn't. He was so focused on me. Then he started complaining things. Rob was at a client of his that he went to a listing presentation, and they called me too, or maybe because he was calling expireds at the time, which was allowed at that time, and I was calling expireds. He was complaining to the broker, saying I was infringing on his territory. So you could tell I was getting in his head. I was getting in
Yeah,
his head.
for sure. It's funny
And
you mentioned that because similar stories happened to me and many other young, agents hungry that come and make waves. And usually this was the first thing that I heard when I started in real estate. This is her territory. And all I said is, do they give these territories from the city hall? Do we need to apply for it? Like,
yeah.
where's that coming from? But it's so true, that if you have that hunger and you succeed, you're going to make some waves, and you're going to get some people that are not going to be happy.
Oh, absolutely. And you know what? I'll tell you, when I started real estate, I was so broke. I couldn't even afford anything. So I was totally dependent on myself. I was totally dependent on my own skills. So I was on the phones like crazy, and I was booking appointments, and I was door knocking. I worked it, and within a year, yeah, you did that. Yeah. And
Door
I mean,
knocking, cold calling, expires for sale by owners.
it's actually easier today if you think about it than it was back then.
Yeah,
Now,
yeah.
so if you think about today, people can do lead generations, right? And you get the call. So people obviously were interested in finding out what their property was worth, right? So or they're just curious, right? So you get the lead coming in, right? You call them. It's no different than door knocking. So you knock on a street. There's maybe, let's say, 100 homes. Well, you get 100 leads. Well, out of those 100 leads, you probably got some 3 to 5 maybe that are really seriously want to sell now. The others will eventually sell because everybody eventually sells down the road. So every one of them is a potential client. But a lot of people don't want to wait for that. But that's no different today. At least you get the phone number. Back then, you had to go through a phone book
I
or
know.
whatever. But now
Now you put it in the system and dials by itself. I
that's
used to
it.
have
It can't get any easier than that.
I used
It's
to have three phones, one next to each other, and because there was no dialer, I used to beep the first one while talking with this one, beeping the other one. Yeah, it got so much easier.
Yeah.
Before I go into other questions, I want to ask you something, and I want to do that because I think there's a lot of people that struggle with that. It's very um, close to my heart because I struggle with that, and I want people to know of your success. Somebody told me that you are dyslexic.
Yes, I am. So
Yeah.
I have to write and repeat the number. So like, let's say I was taking your phone number down. Let's say your last four digits of your phone number was 1234. I would write it down 1243
That's
or whatever. So I always repeat it when I ask for someone's phone number or and to make sure of it because I know that for some reason it entered in my brain, but it can't, but I wrote it down differently.
yeah,
And so I have to be very careful that way. So I'm very dyslexic. And also I'm ADHD, very high, hyperactive
yeah,
personality. And the one thing is it was tough growing up in school,
yeah.
reading readers comprehension was tough. I had to, even if I read it three times, because my mind would veer off. Even though I'm reading it, but I'm not absorbing it because I wasn't thinking of it. And so now that I like, even if I listen to, like if I'm listening to a podcast and if I know if I'm veering off, like my mind's thinking about something else, I shut the podcast down while I'm driving and then just try to get whatever I was thinking about out of like just deal with that in my mind. Like you learn to train how to learn, like because back then they didn't diagnose ADHD.
You were considered just lazy or stupid, one or the other.
They just said, well, he'll figure it out. And but I had to learn. So for the average person, I had to study, I had to read two times, three times, four times as much as they did. So it was more like for me to absorb it. It was tougher. But now I understand how to educate my mind how to learn something.
Yeah.
And I do it every day because I read and do a radio show every week and a podcast like yourself. And so I'm searching for
Yeah.
material. So I learned to absorb that
Yeah.
information now.
I wanted to ask you because you are a master of marketing besides sales and your success as a single and solo agent, but also as a team. Tell me a little bit about your marketing, about your branding.
So, like, I got a little bit of the marketing from when I was doing the direct mail business, coupon business, when I had my own business when I was in my 20s. But what it started off was, I remember with my broker, I was doing postcards. And I was doing these postcards, and I said to him, "I'm doing these postcards. I'm thinking of stopping it. It's just I'm not getting much out of it." And he goes, "Just keep it going, keep it going. Don't worry, it's gonna come. It's gonna come." So anyway, I was at this event. It was an awards event for Remax. It was at the Harbor Castle in Toronto. So and I'm still fairly new in the business. And this guy comes on the stage, and he got an award for earning over $1 million in commissions in 1 year. So I'm standing there and I'm talking to the guy. I go, "What's that award?" And he said, "Yeah, it's earning over $1 million." Are you kidding me? I go, "This guy, and we're talking. This is like early 2000s." And I'm going, "You got to be kidding me." I said, anyway. So I just took note. Took I remembered his name and I called him up the following Monday. I says, "I need to meet with you. I need to know how you did this." So I went and saw him, and I gave him a gift certificate at a mall just so that, for his time. He was willing to do it for nothing. And he's a good friend of mine today. And he showed me his marketing, which was not little, it was not that much different than I was doing. He's doing direct mail, but it was a lot better and creative what he was doing. So I started doing what he did, and things changed for me. And there was a difference, and it did help me, and that's when the growth really started happening. And then I just started adding a part-time administrative assistant, and added in that one agent, second agent. It was just grow baby steps and stuff like that. Our biggest growth happened when I hired a director of sales with my team just before COVID, and that's Holly, and she really helped grow the team a lot during the last 4 years. Prior to that, we were probably about 15 to 20 agents, and then we grew quite a bit in the last 4 years with Holly being on board. I had a dedicated full-time person that was able to handle that, and which made a huge difference in our growth. And yeah,
I'm
it's
gonna I'm
there.
gonna touch on hiring and especially Holly, but I wanted to ask you, I know that your business with the team is very focused on listings. Is that right?
It is, yeah. Like I mean, the buyers do come if you have the listings, and but listings is our key goal to getting,
And
which is expensive.
I know. So I wanted to ask you because you mentioned before when you started as a solo agent, you were into the Mike Ferry teaching, which is more of the prospecting side of the business rather than the marketing side. And my understanding is that you focus more onto the marketing side of the business in order to generate leads. And if you can expand a little bit on that, what that looks like for the team in terms of marketing for sellers.
So the marketing end of it is we created a brand with the brand that we're under the brokerage company that we're with. That we're with Remax. So we created our own brand, the Golfi team, and what it was like I did billboards and all over the city that really helped the brand. People recognized who we were. They knew we were the Golfi team, so that when agents would go into the house, our we kind of stood out a little stronger than any other agent, whether they were Remax, Royal LePage, or Keller, whatever company they were with. The Golfi team had a stronger presence out there, so it was our listing to like to lose basically if we went in. That's what I would tell my agents and say, listen, guys, they called us for a reason. So you're going in, you got to do your presentation. We have a full presentation. And sometimes, they may not hire us because of personalities. It's hard to tell. We understand that. But because of our brand that helped us get in the door, because of our brand, it helped us even getting the listing. And it just depends on circumstances. And but I found the brand makes a huge difference, and I created that brand in our market. The brand is and we feel our brand is we've got a good reputation. People recognize.
Yeah.
If you go to a mall and ask the first 10 people walking in, if they would name, three realtors, three real estate teams, hopefully we are in one of those three on every one of them.
Yeah.
But I've never done that survey, so I don't know. But I'm assuming that hopefully we are.
For sure.
And but yeah, I think branding is huge, and it's tough now. It's tougher now to get a strong brand than it was years ago, because there's a lot of big players, and to combat that, it's tougher unless they have to have a lot of dollars to do it. They have to have a lot of dollars to combat and compete against the strong brands that are out there as realtors.
Yeah. And you do have a very strong brand that I'll be honest with you, years ago when obviously you were such a predominant in the industry, not only in your area, I had no clue and no interest in learning what brokerage you're actually with because it was the brand. And for a while, I thought that that's your brokerage. And that's my next question. You're running a business with a team that's probably bigger than 90% of brokerages within in Canada, in Ontario. And what made you still consider not having your own brokerage and keeping it at the level of team? What's the advantage and what would be the disadvantage of being a brokerage?
You know what? I found that I never thought I would want to be a brokerage. Just I rather focus on the team that I have, and I just no, I just never even considered it. I probably would not consider it if there was a brokerage that became available for me to buy. I would say no right off the bat. I just think there's more headaches with that, and but we are offering a hybrid mode on our team that if people want to join the Remax, the Golfi brand, um, we're starting that off slowly, but we're being very choosy on who we're allowing to represent that brand also. If they want to be independent but use the Golfi brand, we are offering that. And because we had a lot of people ask us about that in the past, and we figured we could be choosy on who we allow to do
Yeah.
that. And again, that brand will help them, they're running their business independently, all that kind of stuff.
Got it. Got it. What's your decision-making process? I think I would go back just a little bit. I would like to know what was your first hire and why?
You know what? I was looking for somebody mature, somebody that was able to handle it. And I remember the first few, they were, yeah. I can't even remember what I was looking for, but I do remember that they were probably close to my age, and they did work in the office at the brokerage I was at, and I liked who they were as people, and they liked me how I was as a person, and I asked them if they wanted to help me with my buyers and stuff like that, and they loved it. And so I would give them buyers that were calling on certain properties that we had, or wanted me to help them find a house. So it started off that way, and then slowly, it's we I would transition them into going to list houses, and then we needed another person, and it kind of grew from there, because I was always in the marketing, especially
Your
in the magazines.
your first hire was basically someone to assist you with buyers or a transaction coordinator or an assistant.
Buyers. They were more. They started off as working for me, working with my buyers.
Yeah, yeah. I love that you say that. I hear so many people advising start with an admin, and I always said that's an expense right off the bat immediately. You need someone that really it's either is working your leads or producing leads, one or the other, before you grow enough in transactions to need the transaction coordinator. So I love you mentioned that. I know you're making fast decisions. Somebody told me. How do you do that? A lot of agents that are looking to start teams or even team leaders, they don't seem to evolve as fast because the decision-making process is quite slow. How do you make decisions?
You know what? I go by gut instinct. So 80, I probably most of my decisions, I do make them quick. I look at what everybody else says to do. They gave me the positive and negatives, and I'll just say, let's do it. Let's just do it. And I can, like, if, if 5 minutes, I'll find out if it's good or bad. I will like, I can make a mistake on a decision, and sometimes it can be costly, but I've made that mistake, and I can pivot faster. Most people haven't even made a decision yet, and I've made a decision, made a mistake, and onto the right path before anybody made a decision. So, like, and yes, sometimes making decisions, I've made some mistakes, but most of them were good decisions, good, that ended up profiting great for me in the business. So, but people that take too long sometimes can cost them money. And by the time they're ready to make that decision, whether they're going forward or not, it's too late. There's new things in play, that they should have. That it's too late. But I've made mistakes even before make people have made decisions, and I know if it's right or wrong right away. I'll know right away. I can, I've always made fast decisions. Sometimes a little bit too quick, but at least I know if I need to go forward more, or just stop and pivot and go a different direction on that decision.
Love that. People are so afraid of change, and yet we change all the time and everything changes. What's two important decisions that really made a huge difference in your career that really got you to the next level?
You know what? Growing the team was a big decision, because it is costly. Like, you know what I mean? Having realtors under your realm is very costly. But I knew I wanted to go that route, and sometimes marketing, some marketing pieces that I've done. Sometimes, you could over market yourself in some places and you don't need to because you're already strong. And, where, you can fine tune that. But yeah, like it's just, nothing hurts out there that if you're doing something for your business, it just hurts your profitability. Like if you spend too much, but when you're growing, there's levels in growing, and and each level, when you want to go to a different level in the business, it's costly, and you have to accept it and you have to understand it. Now, if you don't understand it, and then you don't do it, like you'll never get to the next level. So there's always risk involved in going to different levels. But but I'm not afraid of risk. People know me that I'm not afraid challenges, risks. I'm not afraid of it, any of that. So it's yeah, like it's you just have to be open about it, and not be afraid of it. Like I'm not afraid of any challenges or risks or anything that I do, and I think that helps a lot. And that with the success, because a lot of people get scared. I mean, that pocketbook. I mean, that your bank balance can go up and down fairly quick if you're not careful.
Yeah. I know you made some big decisions on growing from a smaller team into a mega team, basically. What are the disadvantages or advantages of being a mega team versus a smaller team?
Well, the mega team, you know the market better, but you actually, the consumer looks at you and say, "Hey, listen, these guys are big. We should go with them because their reach is a lot bigger." We actually work almost four different markets, and so we have the Niagara market, Hamilton, Brantford, and Halton, and we work those markets aggressively. We're in everybody's mailbox in those markets. It has a lot of advantages, but there's disadvantages because some markets, we could tell different markets if it's slower or picking up. Like it's funny how each market has its own personality when it comes to the sales end of it, and so we can pick up on that. Like we don't do much. We do some business in Toronto, not much. Down the road, possibly we may end up going that route, but right now we just focused on the markets that we're in, and people know us. But you get to know how the trends happen, how the wave of the market goes. We know that Niagara picks up after Hamilton. So like I always say that in Toronto, the market picks up at towards the middle to the end of January and February. Hamilton, Burlington is, February, March, and then Niagara is March, April. So if you're looking at putting your house for sale when the market really starts picking up, those are the months that I kind of suggest. But I mean, but if the house is priced right, I mean, it's gonna sell regardless, no matter what the market's like.
What's the risk of being a mega team versus someone who has a smaller organization?
Well, you got to watch your expenses, and having a mega team, you can't have any bad habits. You got to be focused on the business all the time. You got to have your fingers on the pulse. If you're not, if you think you can just, build a mega team and then go to Florida for 6 months, you will lose that team as fast as you built, faster than you built it, actually. So you've got to be involved. People got to know that you're there. And I'm in the trenches. If any one of my agents asked me, hey, I've got a, they want to see you. They want to know, that you're there. I'll go with them on an appointment, and I have no problem doing that. I've never said no to any of my agents that I couldn't go. And I'm
I wanted
probably. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
no, go ahead. Go ahead.
I'm probably at least twice a week with an agent, going into at least in a listing presentation with another agent, maybe even 3 times a week. So it works out to about maybe 8 to 10 times a month. I'm actually at people's homes, so I'm in the trenches. I know what's going on. I know what people are thinking, what they're feeling in the market, and which makes me keeps me on my toes and on the market.
Yeah, it was actually one of my questions, given that you have such a strong infrastructure of hire of people that help you with this team, how much you're part of it. Are you part of the training process? Which areas are your areas that you cover?
We do have a training. We have a boot camp. Somebody comes on board with us. We have a 2 week boot camp. It teaches them like how we do things. How we market things, how we fill out listings, and like I mean everybody does that, but we have a certain process of the way we do it. And but yeah, I would say for me, I'm just involved into the marketing of it and involved in what we're doing, coming up with new ideas of how to make it easier for our agents to grasp more business, all that kind of stuff. But
Are
yeah,
you in sales at all? Are you in sales at all? Do you go and work a buyer or work a seller from the beginning to the end?
no, I always have somebody that works with me on that if they do it. Otherwise, because I'm running the business, but I do like if I have a seller that I'm dealing with. There's always if they just want to deal with me, there's always somebody beside me to keep me on top of it to make sure I'm on the ball with it. But usually I have another agent that is with me on it, and they'll take it off like it's like a handoff I'll give to them. Yeah.
At what point in the business you made the transition of being outside the sale process, unless on this configuration, you felt comfortable to step out of production?
You mean completely? When will I do that, or is that what you
When,
asked?
yeah, when would you recommend someone to do that, and when that happened to you?
Um, I'd say I'll probably still be involved directly working with the agents, going to appointments, probably for at least another 5 to 10 years. You cannot put your like if you walk away completely 100%, you will lose. You do lose business. People do want my name is on the advertising. It's they if they want to see me, I call them or I will show up if they need to see me. I have no problem. But to walk away, eh, and there's a lot of businesses you can walk away and people can run it for you because there's no face to it. But when you put your face on it, you can't walk away. You got to be part of it. There's no way of walking away and not being part of the business. Like I said, you can't go to Florida for 6 months and just ignore the business. You will lose your business. This business, it's like you taking an oath. Doctors take an oath, so do realtors, but there is no ceremony for taking an oath, becoming a realtor. If you become a realtor or you want to grow a team, you have to there's no end, there's no stopping. Unless you have a succession plan. I do have 3 boys in the business with me down the road. They'll probably have to do what I do. If I but I will be taking it easier because I do have three sons in the business with me that they can do what I do. And but right now, yeah, I think it's hard. I think it's tough unless you got good management. But when your face is on the signs and
Yeah.
everything, you have to be part of it. You can't take it off completely.
How do you maintain culture in a mega team?
So we have events. We try to do at least about 4 or 5 events a year that we get everybody together. Well, one is Christmas. We have our awards, and then we try to do some other events like a picnic.
Your events for Christmas and awards are like Hollywood style.
Yes, yes, yeah. People love it. Like our awards are I think coming up soon, and people love it. They get dressed up to the nines, and they it becomes a nice event at night. We have dancing and the awards, and it's a great event. So and that's when everybody's all together. Like we have 5 different offices that everybody works out of, and but when those are the events. When we have events, everybody's all together. They get to know each other. So there's people like in our Niagara Falls office know people in our Hamilton office really well, or Burlington, or whatever. So when everybody's all together, they recognize each other, and they hang out and they have a good time. And a lot of them hang out even outside of our events, and like we have picnics. We'll do that, and yeah, we have nights out, and it's pretty cool. It is a lot of fun, and a lot of people show up for these events that we have. And I think there's 5 of them we have. I think at least a year. And I know 2 of them, 3 of them, the picnic, and I think there's a few others that we do, that we get everybody together.
And I know somebody who knows exactly how many. That's holy. So I'm going to
Yes.
that question. How obviously you're a visionary, and obviously you're a high D. And the question that I have for you, and advice that you would have for most team leaders that are usually high Ds, they have vision, they want to build something. How do you take that kind of drive and obviously a certain element of control and put it in the hands of an operator, someone who compliments you, and where do you find that trust to give that control and basically leverage mini use basically?
It's hiring good people. Like my personal assistant, which um, I have. Well, she's actually helped me open up 2 other companies. So now she's not my personal assistant. She needs a personal assistant herself. So we're in the process of hiring another personal assistant. It's basically hiring really good people that you can trust, that can handle and think like you. So usually what I do is when I hire somebody to work with me, that they have to understand who I am. I have them in they're in the same office as I am. So they hear me on the phone, they hear how I talk, how I operate, how I think, and so they know, they become who I am, and they can take care of a lot of things. They'll know, and it usually takes. It depends if they're quick. They can learn my personality and my decision making on things probably within probably 2 to 3 months. And sometimes some people it could take longer, but this assistant that's running the 2 companies now, I hate to see her go. Like she's working with me, but she's working in a different department. But she was fantastic. She learned who I was real quick, and that's a key factor. They have to know your personality. They have to know, hey, what would Rob do? What would Rob's decision on this? What
Did it work from the day one for anybody that's looking to hire? Is it easy to hire? Does it work from your first try, or it takes a couple of tries before you find a good person?
Yeah, it sometimes it could take a couple, but I now I have a sense of the person that can grasp it, and I'll know within 2 weeks if they can grasp how I am. And what I mean, like, there's no sense wasting and giving, prolonging it. If they just don't grasp it, they just can't. I'm I'm a water bug. I'm all over. Like I can start on one subject and then talk about 3 different things and go back to that same subject line. So like I'll whirl around, and that's the person I need to know that they once they know everything I know, they understand the conversation. Sometimes I change conversations within a conversation. Like I'll be talking about one thing, and then all of a sudden something triggers in my head, and I talk about another thing. Can they follow that? And sometimes I'm thinking they understand that. Some people can grasp that, and some people can't. And that's the person I'm looking for that can grasp me pivoting on my conversations. Like I'll have I'll talk about 3 different things in one conversation, and I'll go right back to what we started from. So,
Yeah, and with full understanding of what happened in the room.
yes, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
So, but yeah,
So
I'm sure the teachers that probably watched me with my career probably realized, wow, okay, now we know why he was a little tougher to learn on those subject lines because of my ADHD. Like they didn't have a diagnosis back then, but
I know.
now they do.
Our children are very lucky these days to be able to have the tools and giving the tools and not making them feel that something is wrong. On the other hand, I always says I am where I am because I didn't have these ways of open doors by others because I was kind of like pushed on the side because I was different.
Mhm.
But that didn't stop you. So it creates a certain drive. So it's all good. Before I let you go, I have this question which I ask everyone, and I want to ask you, I know you speak a lot. I know you do podcasts, so obviously you've been asked a lot of questions in your time, and I want you to share with me and take your time to think. What was one question that you were asked in an interview or in a speaking panel that it was such a good question that it's worth it being mentioned now so you can share the answer?
Would I grow a team as big as I have now again? That was that's a great question. So if I would I grow? I would probably not as fast. But I think profitability wise, you can be um as profitable with a smaller team. But I buy real estate to I buy a lot of real estate, so that's where my expense comes from. Because and then we rent out offices there to outside businesses than our real estate team. But you can would I build as big as a team? I'm here now. I enjoy it. I'm doing very well financially, but I probably wouldn't be as big. I wouldn't build as big as I did. But and I probably would do it a lot slower than I did. But it's hard to tell. It's hard to tell. Everybody has what you have. They say, "Oh, I would have done this differently." But I was, everybody wants more, right? If you're not growing, you're dying, right? So, but
What
I
was what at what level, at what number, account number you felt like this is a sweet spot before it becomes again harder because before it becomes again a sweet spot? What was that
I
number?
I think there's two levels. One that you can work with about maybe 4 or 5 agents, or two between 15 and 20 agents. Those are the two little sweet spots. And if you stay at that level, and if you got a good marketing plan that's not too expensive, you could be very profitable at those two levels. Absolutely.
And then after 20 would be like you go mega team.
That's it. You go mega team. You go all the way. There's no stopping. There's no, like, if you're going to go to 30, 40, you might as well just keep going until you decide to retire in this
Yeah.
business.
And
That's
then you
it.
said time wise, you felt like you did it fast. Obviously, you're such a driver. You want to see it today, done yesterday. So I totally relate to that. What would be the time period that you feel like you would have been more appropriate?
Probably, you know what? I probably would have grown the team instead of over a 5 year period like that. Probably do it over a 10 year period. Just take your time. I always tell people, walk, don't run. No matter what business you're in, walk, don't run. But I'm that guy that runs, so it's just in my DNA. But for the average person out there, you know what? Just walk, don't run. Build it slowly, and hey, look, a lot of major companies like Amazon. I mean, they built huge. Started out of the garage, and look where they are today. So I mean, he had the right people, he had the right technology, had higher. That's what it takes, and no matter what, a real estate team can grow massively. It's just how you got to be careful on the cost wise. That's all.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it was such a pleasure talking to you. So many good nuggets here. I can't wait for this one to go live. Thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it. I know how busy you are. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. Thank you so much.